Hi, my name is Teresa. I've been with Safeway for 13 years, 12 of which I've been a file maintenance clerk. Currently, I work in NorCal's HR Training and Development Department. I'd like to welcome you to this training session on the new software called Plum. Plum stands for Price Lookup Universal Management. As the name implies, it is a system used for managing all types of price lookup data used by scales. This session is intended for experienced file maintenance clerks. If you are a new file maintenance clerk, please turn off the tape and speak to your manager about getting basic file maintenance clerk training. The goal of this program is to help you successfully launch and use Plum software at your store without causing errors that would result in a loss of data or a call to the help desk. During this video, I will give you a brief tour of Plum's main features and screens, demonstrate the recommended procedure for updating batches, and show you a couple of tips for troubleshooting. Before we get started, let's take a quick look at the materials you'll use to learn about the new scale software. In addition to this introductory video, you should have a study guide and a Plum reference guide. Let's take a look at the Plum study guide. This booklet shows you how to take Plum training. It contains the course guidelines, objectives, and a short quiz that will enable you to test your knowledge on the new system. Now turn to page 3 and let's look at the course objectives and at what you will do as a result of this training. After watching this video and reviewing the other training materials, you will be able to log in and out of the CC controller and the Plum Scale application on the store's ISP. The ISP, or in-store processor, is a computer located in your store's file maintenance room. I'll talk more about the ISP later. Download batch files for scale management. Perform PLU item maintenance functions within the Plum system. Verify scale communications and transfer batch files to scales. Generate and print department batch update and master item scale file reports. Conduct a basic troubleshooting routine to isolate common problems, thereby reducing the need to call the help desk. The Plum reference guide is your printed reference for using Plum. It contains step-by-step instructions on the most commonly used procedures. It also contains a list of troubleshooting tips. One of the main benefits of Plum is that it permits us to print scale labels that show customers the value of their selection by printing the regular price and the club card price right on the label. It also adds information to the labels such as cooking instructions and nutritional content. From a merchandising perspective, Plum supports dual pricing and multi-pricing methods. As an experienced file maintenance clerk, you should be able to adapt to Plum easily. This is because you will perform the same functions as before. You will still view, print, and send scales. Additionally, your transmission cycle has not changed. For instance, if you're used to receiving batches on Thursday for Thursday's application, it won't change. However, with most things remaining the same, you will see some changes. These include some minor difference in terminology and in the new system used to apply scale maintenance. You're already familiar with the process of host transmission to the CC controller and the process of retail scale application. The biggest change is that we no longer use number 5, retail scale applications. Instead, we will process the scale maintenance to the ISP and transmit to the scales from there. This procedure must be done before delayed data maintenance is applied. Once you process files to the ISP, you can go back to the CC controller and print the message file, process files after transmission, and print your signs and labels. The important thing to remember is that you must send data to Plum on the ISP before applying delayed data maintenance. The critical step is to think about when the maintenance has to be applied. You're used to sending scales on the 4690 CC controller. In Plum, you will be transmitting to scales. I'll show you the actual process shortly. First, let's take a brief look at Plum's main features. Let's look at where Plum resides. Unlike our current retail scales management system, which runs on the CC controller, Plum resides on the ISP. The ISP is a computer used to run other store applications such as BDR, backdoor receiving, and PDX for pharmacy. Now let's take a look at that system. Plum's main menu provides access to many features. Here are the menu options you will work with. Batch Maintenance menu, Reports menu, and the Log Off command. All other menu options will be used by Backstage. That's a quick look at Plum. In our next segment, I'll walk through several of the most common tasks you will do on Plum. Now stop the tape and look at the Plum reference guide. Browse through the section on the basic Plum scale maintenance update process, which is on pages 3 to 10. When you finish previewing the section, start the tape and I'll walk you through the basic scale maintenance update process. Welcome back. Are you ready to get started? The procedure you're about to see is the basic Plum scale maintenance update process. It involves 3 primary phases. First, verify receipt of file maintenance from host. Second, transmit scale maintenance to the ISP. And third, send the updates to the scales. Please follow along in the Plum reference guide starting on page 4. You are already familiar with the first phase of this process, but since it is critical to a successful scale update, let's review it. This phase is important because it helps you to avoid interrupting the host transmission by verifying the transmission status. Transmission interruption will lose data and require a call to the help desk for a cold start transmission. Follow along in the Plum reference guide as I demonstrate each step. Please turn to page 4. Starting at the CC controller, log on in the usual manner, your ID and password. Bring up the system keys by pressing Alt Print Screen and B for background. At this point, you will need to page up and down to look for the ADXHSROL application. Since there might be multiple files running, page through the screens. Verify if all multiple files have ended. The reason why you might see multiple files is that different parts of your transmission are coming down at the same time. If the status is active, do not proceed to the File Maintenance menu. This message means the transmission is still processing. Wait for it to finish. However, if you see this, it means the transmission is completed. The key messages are status equals ended and RCMS ended. It's safe to continue without the risk of interrupting the transmission. Return to the System main menu by pressing F3. Select Retail Applications menu by pressing 2, Enter. Select Retail Applications by pressing 1, Enter. And select File Maintenance menu by pressing 2, Enter. Select Print Message File by pressing 1, Enter, and verify the date as the current effective maintenance. And I'm at the top of page 5 in the guide. If the date is incorrect, contact the help desk. If you want to print the report, press Enter. If you don't want to print the report, press F3 to exit. Once you start using Plum, you will not use option number 5, Scale Application Main Menu. Now, you can process files after transmission and verify the receipt of the delayed data maintenance, which is what I will do now. Looking at step 10, return to the System main menu by pressing F3 twice. Select Supermarket Applications by pressing 1, Enter. Select Delayed Data Maintenance by pressing 3, Enter. Press 7, Enter to select Display Change Maintenance Data. Verify that the batch numbers show the correct effective date. If the batches with effective dates have not been received, do not proceed and call the help desk. If the batches with the scheduled effective date have been received, continue with your task. Remember, the batch number format is month, day, and batch number. Again, do not apply delayed data maintenance batches until the transmission is completed, or you will lose the data for Plum to process. If this happens, you will have to call the help desk and request a cold start. Press F3 3 times to return to the system main menu. Next, we will transmit scale maintenance to the ISP from the CC controller. Please follow along in your Plum reference guide, turning to page 6. The next step is to move to the ISP and log on. You will see the standard logon procedure. Check the cover letter, which came with your training packet, to verify your password. Enter Plum in lowercase, and then your password. In this case, I will use the password S with the left parentheses, ALES. The Scale 99 menu appears, and Scale 99 is new. It formats information and feeds it into Plum for transmission to the scales. Before we get started, I'd like to point out some navigational tips for making selections from the menu. There are 2 ways to do this. Press the up or down arrow key to highlight your choice and press enter, or enter the first letter of the option you want to select. The selections on the Scale 99 menu are as follows. Option 1, process scale maintenance from POS controller. Processes any scale maintenance that has been transmitted to the CC controller. Option 2, process FM maintenance from POS controller. Processes any FM maintenance that exists on the CC POS controller. Use these options after the scheduled maintenance has been received from the host and before the maintenance has been applied on the CC controller. This option must be selected only once for the effective maintenance, otherwise the same set of maintenance will be processed again. Be sure to select this option before the batches are applied on the CC controller, otherwise any scale-related regular and club price changes will be lost. Option 3, log into Plum Scale Management System. Takes you into the main menu of the Plum Scale Management application. Option 4, load manual changes from POS controller allows the system to load into Plum any waiting manual batches that it has gathered from the CC controller. Option 5, view Scale 99 system log allows you to browse through the Scale 99 system log file. For options 1 and 2, the result is a set of batches that are loaded into Plum. These batches remain pending until you transmit to scales. Remember, for the new pricing to actually reach the scales, the batches must be released through the Plum menu. The Scale 99 menu screen features a number of pieces of information that are updated, if necessary, whenever you press the Enter key. The time shows the current time. Batches. This field indicates the total number of batches in the system in any phase or state other than in process. Done. This field indicates how many batches are completed and are awaiting deletion. In error indicates the number of batches that failed during processing. Call the help desk if you have failed batches. Now let's continue transmitting scale maintenance to the ISP. Starting at step 16, select Process Scale Maintenance from POS Controller by pressing 1, Enter. The system goes through its uploading process. And again, this option tells the system to process all scale maintenance that has been transmitted to the CC controller. This process only brings scale data to ISP and Plum, not to the scales. When the process finishes loading, you will review the display to verify the scale download effective date and look for the completed message. The format for the date is year, month, and day. If you do not see a successful completion message, call the help desk. And we're still on page 6 at the next step. Press Enter, and we'll return to the Scale 99 menu. We'll now do the same process for the FM maintenance. Press 2, Enter. We'll go through the same process of loading the information. Again, you will review the display to verify the scale download effective date and look for the complete message. Here's our date, Here's our complete message. And again, the format is year, month, and date. If you do not see successful completion message, call the help desk. Again, this option tells the system to process any FM maintenance that exists on the CC controller. Remember, you must process this option before applying the batches on the CC controller. Otherwise, any scale-related changes will be lost. Press Enter, and you will be returned to the Scale 99 menu. And we are on page 7 in the guide. We would choose Plum Scale Management System by pressing 3, Enter. A list of pending batches for both scale and file maintenance are displayed by each department. The departments are listed as Bakery, Seafood, Meat, Deli, and China Express. Pending batches are displayed only if there is updated information available. If a department is not listed, then there is no maintenance for that department. Press Escape to exit pending batches. This action will take you back to the Plum main menu. Select Batch Maintenance menu by pressing Enter since our option is already highlighted. You will use this menu for most of your work. What is batch maintenance? Batch maintenance allows you to maintain data integrity between the scales and the item file on the ISP. During routine scale maintenance, you will work mainly with View a Batch, Transmit a Batch, and Check Scale Status. View a batch by pressing V or the down pointing arrow 4 times and press Enter. View a batch allows you to view or print a report of all change items in batches. You will use this function to print daily scale update reports for each department manager. Select All Batches by pressing Enter when each one is highlighted. Rows automatically scroll back to the first batch, and each row has a row number. Make sure you do not deselect row 0. Press F9 to save, and press Enter to print the batches. Plum prompts you to select print options. Select Print All of the Above by pressing the down arrow 3 times and then Enter. This process permits you to print updates by specific departments. The report option only provides master file information. Select Printer by pressing Enter on every batch that comes up. Wait for the print job to load before pressing Enter if you want departments printed on separate sheets of paper. Once all batches are completed, you are returned to the Batch menu. Press Escape and you will be returned to the Plum main menu. Now, this is what has not changed. If it is not the current effective date to transmit to scales, log off the ISP controller and continue with your file maintenance duties. These duties include printing the message file, processing files after transmission, editing and printing signs and labels from the CC controller. If you've not already done so, remember, do not apply delayed data maintenance batches until the effective date. That's all there is to transmitting scales. The next task we'll do is send updates to scales. As before, please follow along in your Plum reference guide, turning to page 9, step 34. Let's assume that we are already logged into Plum and have the batch menu up on the screen. We're going to skip steps 31 through 33 and go right to 34. Select Check Scale Status. We would do so by pressing the down arrow key until the option is highlighted. And then press Enter. Choose one, All Departments and Addresses. Use the Check Scale Status option to verify the scales are online and ready to communicate with Plum. If one or more scales are turned off, busy, or if the cabling is not properly installed from the computer to the scales, you will see an offline message. This means the scales are not ready to communicate. When you see transmission to scales was successful for all departments, press Escape to return to the batch menu. Select Transmit a Batch by pressing the down arrow until the option is highlighted and press Enter. Select every batch separately by highlighting it and pressing Enter. Track the batch row number on the bottom left side of the window. Rows auto-scroll to the first batch listed. Make sure you do not deselect row 0. Press F9 to save. Confirm which batches you intend to transmit by pressing Enter when prompted. And pressing the Enter key is the same as responding with yes. You will need to do this for each batch. When the batch transmission to scales is completed, Plum returns you to the batch menu. Remember, if you need a report, print it through the View a Batch option before transmitting batches to scales. Once you transmit your batches, reports are no longer available because the batch change file has been closed, meaning deleted. Press Escape to leave the batch menu. Log off Plum by pressing the down arrow key until you highlight L, or L for log off. Press Enter to continue the log off. Quit Plum by pressing Q and then Enter. Okay, now we're finished sending updates to scales. You're finished with the ISP and can continue with the rest of your file maintenance duties, which includes delayed data maintenance. Stop the tape and look at the Plum reference guide, browsing through the section on price changes, pages 11 through 19. When you finish previewing the section, start the tape and I'll walk you through the process. Welcome back. In this segment, you will see how to manually change prices on the CC controller. Then I'll show you how to transfer the changes into Plum. Changing prices on the CC controller is a familiar task. However, moving the change into Plum is new, so I'll show you how to combine both procedures into the same sequence of steps. Please follow along in your Plum reference guide, starting at page 11. Let's start with manual price changes at the CC 4690 controller to Plum application. Starting at the CC controller, log in with your ID and password. Select Supermarket Application by choosing 1, Enter. Select Data Maintenance by choosing 4, Enter. Select Item Data by choosing 1, Enter. Change a record 1. Now enter the item code. And press Enter. Tab to the field requiring change. On our example, the system automatically put me in the price field. Key in the change and press Enter. I am now done making the change on the CC controller and need to send the change into Plum. The next step is to move to the ISP and log on. Enter Plum in lowercase and then your password. The Scale 99 menu will appear. We will now choose 4 load manual options from the POS controller. When the system completes the data transfer, press Enter. We'll now choose 3 for Plum Scale Management System. Look for the pending batches to appear on the screen. When they appear, press Escape. If the batch does not appear immediately, wait 5 minutes and retry Step 9, Load Manual Changes from POS Controller. Now, Select the Batch Maintenance menu by pressing Enter. And we're ready to send the manual changes to the scales. Just follow the same procedures for checking scale status and transmitting a batch. When you're finished, log off. This concludes the process for making manual price changes on the CC controller and the changes into Plum. The last sequence is intended for instances when the CC controller and the ISP are not communicating. There are times, however, when connection between the CC controller and ISP are down. Should this happen, you'll need to make manual changes in Plum and then enter those changes on the CC. There are several ways to make price changes in Plum. The reference guide lists several methods for changing prices and other data from the ISP. These methods include price changes on the ISP by PLU entry within a department, price changes on the ISP using department master scale lists, and price changes on the ISP using item UPC. This rarely occurs, so should you need to do changes on the ISP, please consult your Plum reference guide. This concludes the segment for changing prices. In our next segment, I'll walk you through one of the more common reporting tasks. Now stop the tape and look at the Plum reference guide. Browse through the section on printing the master scale item file, which is on page 20. When you finish previewing the section, start the tape, and I'll walk you through the process. Welcome back. In this segment, I'll show you how to access Plum's Reports menu and print the master scale item file. This report is one of the more common ones you're likely to print. Follow along in your Plum reference guide starting at page 20 for printing the master scale item file. Choose Plum by pressing 3 Enter. If a list of pending batches appears, just press Escape. Arrow down to the Reports menu and press Enter. Then choose the Standardized Reports menu. It's already highlighted. All I have to do is press Enter. Press Enter to accept the first option, the PLU Item File Report. At this time, you may choose all departments or selected departments. Best practice is to choose all departments. Press Enter to print. Press Enter to select the printer and your report is generated. It's that simple. To quit the Reports menu, press Escape twice. Select L for log off. Hit Enter to continue. And to quit Plum, Q, Enter. Now you've seen how to use Plum and Scale 99. You've seen how to print, view, and transmit batches to the scales. You've also seen how to make a manual price change and how to use the ISP. Remember, if you have any questions on the procedures, first review your Plum reference guide. If you have any difficulty receiving or sending batches, contact the help desk. Please remember to do 2 things after you turn off this video. First, complete the self-test in the back of your study guide. Second, check your answers on the answer sheet located in the back of your study guide. Thanks for your attention, and please feel free to review this tape again if you'd like. Good luck using your new skills.